We'd like to hear a little more about Diana and her journey and how God has led her to this place and in this time. So I'd like to invite Pastor Diana to come and share with us.
That was a great welcome. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I know some of us are a little sleepy. I've been a little sleep-deprived myself, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet and then to the point. I know most of you, if not all, and I'm getting to know most of you, but you may not really know me, so I'm hoping this is the time just to share a bit of my journey. I'm not going to go into like a whole life story, but just to give you an idea where I've come from and what God has done. I didn't grow up in a Christian household. I grew up in Edmonton, born and raised there, so I'm a prairie girl, but I also in a typical immigrant Chinese family, so it had the mix of the East and West. And I can't explain it, but ever since I was a kid, when I was aware, I always believed in God. And I didn't really have a name for God, but I always knew that there was something out there, way above or around me, that was watching over me. And I didn't have a name for this God. And so I grew up believing that all religions point to the same God. So this is what I believed growing up. And for a lot of many years, I didn't really think too much about it. I was interested in just having fun at school. I enjoyed learning. So I guess in some ways my journey with God started there. And when I was, I'll skip a few years, I started coming to church through the invitation of a friend in junior high. So those were really critical years. I was going through a crisis at that point. I was the kid that everybody picked on, that people made fun of, and I had a lot of friends betray me during junior high, and so the people that stuck with me were Christians. And they first invited me out to church, and that's when, I started to encounter Christians more. And I thought, I was sharing with the home group on Thursday night how I really thought Christians were weird. There's this strange bunch of people, and they're only coming to church because they're afraid of going to hell, So, I just thought, every good person gets to go to heaven, right? But anyway, so I kind of struggled with that when I met Christians. I was like, you guys are weird, but hey, I can be a part of you. I can hang out with you. So I'm really thankful for that community. That church that I started going to is a Chinese church. And so I went to the English-speaking side, and I think it was helpful for me because I met other kids that were like me, that were born in Canada, grew up speaking English, and yet still have this Chinese heritage with them. So it was nice to have a group of people that I could identify with. So that's where I started growing and learning more about God. And there wasn't this one moment where I felt like I'm a Christian. It was very gradual. Took many years. I had to struggle through a lot of questions. And it wasn't until university that I decided to be baptized. That I even thought that I needed to be baptized. So, and by that point I realized that, okay, I'm committing myself to something greater. And I didn't realize it then, but I think that really just started this huge journey that I never thought I would go on. I went into engineering. So I did civil structural engineering, and I graduated. So 10 years ago, that I realized is 10 years ago, I graduated from engineering. Yes, I'm that old, or that young. And I went on this trip to India. And this trip to India really impacted me in ways that I'm still I'm still seeing the results of. I got to see God at work around the world in a different space. I got to see God work in miraculous ways I couldn't even explain. And I think I started to really see the kingdom of God and what that's all about. So I came back from India and this internship with the organization that I was with. And I was excited, now I get to start my career in engineering and get on with my life and, maybe get married and have kids and, do what everybody else is doing. And then I started working and I thought, this sucks. I really did not enjoy my first year. It was probably the hardest thing, a really hard year for me. But for some reason, I stuck to it. God kept me there, and it was hard, but I learned a lot. Part of it was a lot of dissatisfaction with what I was doing. It seemed kind of meaningless for me. There's some engineers who really love engineering. Like you can tell they're born engineers, and I don't think I was one of those. Yeah. So I actually just focused on the people that I was working with, and that gave me joy. I focused on building relationships, and then I poured myself into church. So I thought, I'll just carry on this way. I'll just keep working, volunteer at the church, and I was becoming more and more in leadership positions in my church. And then the crisis hit at church. I won't go into a long story, but there was a lot of traumatic things that went on in my home church, and it left me really disillusioned. So that was a point where I had to really question what church was all about and what was being a Christian all about. And that's probably the closest I ever came to leaving the faith. I was really angry. I was really hurt. I was really angry at seeing other people get hurt by the church. And that's when I learned that, the church can hurt people, and they can hurt people deeply. And some people haven't recovered, I think, from that experience. But overall, the ones that I've connected with have recovered, myself included. So that was around 6 or 5 years ago. So I had to make it. And through that process, I really discovered where my passion was. And it wasn't engineering, but because I was so angry at what was happening in the church, I realized this is where my passion was. It riled me up, and it still riles me up when I hear bad things happen. And I think what I learned from that was I wanted to know maybe this engineering side of me. I really thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. There really has to be a better way than this. If this is the best that we can do, then Lord have mercy. It really prompted me to discover, what Christian life was all about and what it means to live in a community. And so I decided to stay in the church. Not that particular community, because if I stayed there, it was very unhealthy for me, but I knew I couldn't leave the global church. And I also knew I couldn't leave Jesus. Because, the thought of leaving Jesus, I had nowhere else to go. And I knew that Jesus doesn't act the way that I see a lot of people act. And I don't even act the way Jesus acts. So that gave me hope, I think, focusing on Christ. And that kept me in. So God led me to a new church, and this is primarily Caucasian church in Edmonton, and that's where I found a lot of healing. I found space to be myself and to not be busy doing stuff in the church. And that was the point where I decided to come to Vancouver and go to Regent, because I realized, well, this is where if I want to serve in the church full time, then I need training. And so that's where I decided to come to Vancouver. And so, that was 3 years ago that I came here. And I think I'm just at the point right now where I'm beginning to process what's been happening for the last 3 years. It's been a lot. I can't explain Regent until you go through it. You just have to go through it. Yeah, it's a very personal and an emotional experience. It was a place where I experienced a tremendous amount of brokenness and also healing. And my time here has been a huge opportunity to discover my call, not just to full-time church work, but also to pastoring. And this has been a surprise. I don't know if you're surprised I'm here, but believe me, I'm more surprised, because this is not what I envisioned for my life at all. I did not want to be a pastor. Sorry, it sounds kind of bad now, but and I think it's because I hadn't seen a model of pastoring that I wanted to do for a long time until coming here. And I didn't see a model for women particularly. So I couldn't imagine myself being in this role because I didn't see many others doing it, especially many other Chinese Canadian women. So it's been a time of discovery, and I'm really thankful for my time here at F3C, being invited by Ted and Ed to come serve as an intern has been really enriching. I've learned a lot. Serving with the elders has been a great experience. People have asked me, is it kind of weird to be with a bunch of guys? I'm like, I went into engineering. There's nothing new here. But it's been great, and to slowly discover. And I think even more meaningful is having God meet me where I was at, and walking along with me, and in what I was able to do at that, here and now. And letting go a lot of kind of these images, or what I thought a pastor should be, or what church should be, or what a Christian should be. Letting go of a lot of those things and discovering anew what all those things mean. And so here I am. I'm very new to all this, and I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes, but hopefully discovering a lot of things alongside with you. And I think I'm still trying to figure out what my vision is, or what my hopes are. But just to give you an idea of what's been kind of churning in my head so far is I'm really interested in community. And anybody who's been to Regent, it's overused. It's an overused word, and sometimes it's an overused word here, because I think we have a very flawed idea of what community is. But even though as flawed as our idea of community is, I want to still figure out what that means, and to know what it means to be a body, a family, really, that grieves together, that mourns together, that also rejoices together. And part of that vision is actually starting a community house, intentional living together. So I've seen this around the city. It's been working out, but having families and singles living together in one place, and being a new type of family, being a new type of tribe, if you call it. and sharing life together and being very intentional about it. So this is something that I want to work towards. And also another thing is, just as I've been slowly discovering my calling and vocation and giftings, I would love to help others discover that too. Discover your own callings and giftings and vocation, and it doesn't have to look like, you don't have to be a missionary in Africa, though I won't rule out the idea, but actually that your own place where you're working, where you're serving is exactly, it could be exactly where God wants you to be, and to actually discover that and to shine where you are. That's one of the advice actually I got from a missionary when I was struggling with work, and she told me, just shine where you are. And when God calls you out of the place, He'll let you know. So that's kind of the things that I'm thinking about and praying about and hoping that I could, walk with all of you with. And I do hope to hear more stories. I hear your story and what God's been doing with you. That I'll be away this summer. I'm leaving for Israel for 3 months. Starting May 31st and coming back August 31st. And so when I come back, I'll have more stories of my time in Jerusalem. And so thank you. Thanks for listening to me now, hearing a bit of my story. And if you have any questions, you can talk to me. I'd love to sit down and chat with anybody. And, I'll be praying for you, and please pray for me when I'm gone. So that's it. Thank you.
We're just really happy to have Pastor Diana with us. She has accepted our call, or the call of God to our particular community, and we'll be working out all those details during the summer. And she will be away, as she said, in Jerusalem, so do remember her in your prayers. And she'll be returning to us, and we're hoping that if everything works out, the installation of her ministry will be in September. I'm going to ask Pastor Ed now to come and give the children's message.